Hey, hey, hey out there. Let's see. Y'all know the deal. I got to make sure that I am live before I start. Let me tell y'all something. Um, okay, let's get into it. Let me check and see, make sure I'm live so I can know before I start this. I hope everyone is having an amazing day so far. Let's see. It's already 2 o'clock here on the East Coast, and yeah. So before I start this video, let me just find myself. I always say that because I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm finding myself. I'm finding myself through these internet streets. Because okay, I can find myself. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are or coming in at. I just wanted to come in and do a quick, I won't even say quick because nothing about what I do is quick because I'm a very talkative person. So I tend to go a little bit longer than usual. Before we get into this, if you want to leave a comment of any kind and you are on this live, make sure you grant StreamYard access to you so that you can leave the comments in the chat as I'm going through. My name is Yashika Foster, and I am your Dating 101 coach. And so today, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. How can I better serve you as a one-on-one coach, and why do you might need one? All right, so let's just first get into it. And please forgive me if you see me looking over this way. That's because I have a whole notes pulled up so that I can make sure that I don't forget anything. So exactly, how can I help you as a one-on-one coach? I help you to determine the root of who you are, to know exactly what you need and desire in a partner when dating. Just that simple, right? You need to know who you are so that you can just, when you're out here dating, you can know exactly what you need and what you desire. Because if you are not sure about who you are or what it is that you need or what you desire, then you'll be out here in these dating streets dating haphazardly. I always get tongue tied with that word, right? Haphazardly, right? And you guys know in the era of swiping left and swiping right, it is not advantageous for us in so many ways, for our hearts, for our emotions, for everything that we go through, to just be out here and not really know what we're looking for in terms of dating, right? In terms of what we need in a partner. And so, granted, I can always help you in a relationship. You can schedule one-on-ones with me. But for the most part, though, I am that coach that helps you from the beginning, like help you decide. How do I get to the root of that? I get to the root of this by doing one-on-ones with you, talking to you, listening very attentively about what you have to say, what you desire, what you want, what you've had in the past, what you saw a problem with, what you don't want, some of the things that you feel that did not serve you, some things that you liked or didn't like, and you feel like you need those things in order to be your best self, right? Granted, we all know that everything that we want and need and desire, we're not going to necessarily find in a partner. So we have to be whole and complete with ourselves, right? Let's start there first. And so that's why, as a dating one-on-one coach, I help you to determine how you can be your complete self and someone add value to your life when you're dating them, right? They add value to your life when you're dating them so that you can be your best self, right? Even more so than what you already are, okay? I do this type of coaching through assessment tests, personality tests, of course, one-on-ones. I do it through strength training, testing, things like that, so that I can get a clear understanding about the person you are, what you desire, what you need going forward, right? Going forward. Um, so I was talking to someone one time. Well, you know what? Before I get into that, I'm going to go into a series that I was watching the other day. I won't even mention the name of the series simply because, I'm not here to promote. They haven't given me any money to, promote them or whatever. But I was watching a series on Netflix, I think it was. I think it had about 8 episodes to it or whatever. And if you guys know one of the top 10 of Netflix right now, you probably have an idea of what I'm talking about. Well, in the series, this woman was married, prior to her getting married and having 2 children, she was dating a guy who was just wild and exciting and all the things, right? All the things that we want, especially when we're young and we're free and we don't have any responsibilities, right? We want this partner that excites us, that just has this amazing sex life and everything that comes with it, right? Well, he did some things to her. Just not, I don't want to be a spoiler alert for the movie, for the series, if you haven't watched it, but he did some things to her along the way that caused her to say, you know what, this is not the guy for me. Although we have fun in these areas, we mesh in these areas, we're good in these areas, but I need more in life, right? At least she thought. Okay. So she ended that relationship, and shortly after, I think she said in the series that exactly 1 month after she ended her relationship with that guy, she met her soon-to-be husband. She married him, or she met him. They got married. They had the house with the 2 kids, the whole 9 yards, right? Well, throughout this whole series, she is battling with what she has at home versus what she feels like she needs, that wild and crazy life, right? And so she's imagining past things that they had been through. She's thinking about, some of the experiences that they did together, some of the sexcapades that they had together, just all the things that were not necessarily what she was getting from her husband. Okay. And so again, if you have not seen the series, I do not want to be a spoiler alert for you. So go watch it. But that's just a prime example of not really understanding what you need to be happy or to be complete or feel whole when you're out here and you're choosing or picking a partner, right? If there's something that you feel like you need, you have to come to a decision and say, okay, what is it that I want versus need, desire, or what is it that I'm willing to not have in my life forever, right? Because if, for example, I was vegan for 2 years, in my heart, I'm still vegan, okay? I don't really necessarily miss meat or anything like that. But there's times when I could really go for some tilapia, some shrimp, things like that. Okay. Now, with that being said, once I decided that being vegan what meant that as long as I was vegan, I will not eat meat. Okay. Then that was something I had to accept. And when I came to the conclusion that, okay, if I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, I'm just not going to do it. Well, when it comes to relationships, it's a little bit harder than just walk away from it. To say, you know what, I'm married to this guy, he doesn't do this for me, or I'm not happy here, I'm just going to give up on it. Like, I'm just going to just go into a restaurant and order steak. It's not that simple, because now you're talking about someone's life. Now you're talking about kids. Now you're talking about the foundation that you guys have built together, right? It's not as simple as me just deciding one day that I'm going to be vegan and then the next day I'm not vegan again. It's not that simple, right? That is simple. Being vegan today, not vegan tomorrow is simple, okay? However, when you're in a relationship, it's not that simple, especially when you have, responsibilities involved. You have children involved. You have all the things that entails a marriage. Mortgages, you have bills, you have things together, you have, these little people walking around that's relying on you, right? So you have to be really clear and concise and specific about the things that you want, desire, and then moving forward, make a decision about what the things you are willing to go without and what you're not, right? And you're going to be okay with. I'm going to give you another example. I remember in my second marriage, my husband would leave, get undressed. He'd come home from work and he would want to take a nap, right? Or he would just get undressed for the day or whatever. And he would take off his clothing and would lay it on the middle on the side of the bed. And so I would always ask him, why would he leave his clothes on the side of the bed as opposed to just taking them, putting them in a dirty clothes basket or hanging them on a hot, hanging them, putting them somewhere so they're not on the floor next to the bed. And so he explained to me, well, first of all, Yashika, they're not in your way. Okay. which they weren't. I didn't trip over the clothes or anything like that. It just didn't look right to me. Okay. It just was like, okay, but why do all that? Anyway, so it was one of those things where prior to me marrying him, because we lived together for about 2, 3 years before we got married, it came to a point where I had to ask myself, something like that, am I going to be okay with for the rest of my life? Because the odds are he's not going to change. And I cannot expect him to change necessarily for me. Now, can we compromise on it? Absolutely. Meaning the compromise is this. Okay, you're coming home, taking a nap. You may very well put those clothes on again. So I don't expect you to take them and put them in a dirty clothes hamper. Okay. However, if you know that you're not going to get back in them and you just came home and passed out and you're not going to get up and get dressed again or whatever, and you haven't taken a shower, whatever the case may be, I'm going to need you to make sure that the street lights in the next daylight doesn't catch up with you before these clothes get moved to the hamper. That was the compromise, right? The compromise was you could put them there, but if you think that you're not going to get back in them, then I'm going to need you to move them to the hamper. Because for me, as a person who's 99% responsible for the upkeep of the house, I felt like throwing them on the bed or next to the bed, it was like it made the room look cluttered. Okay. Although it didn't, but in my mind it did. Y'all work with me. Okay. It didn't, but in my mind it did. Right. And I'm sticking to my story. I'm sticking to my story. All right. So moving forward, that was something that I had to understand. Was it something that I was willing to live with for the rest of my life? If he continued to put these clothes beside the bed, would that be something I was willing to live with? And the answer was, yeah, because that's small. You know, if he had like piles and piles of clothes in the floor, in the middle of the floor, or I tripped on them and did something like that, then that was something different. But because they were only on his side of the bed, they did not impede my walkway. They weren't scattered all over the room. There weren't piles and piles of or anything like that. So it was not something for me to just make a big fuss about. So I came to the conclusion that I could live with that because it wasn't something like detriment. It wasn't detriment to my health or anything like that. But he knew not to leave those clothes there overnight, though. Let's be clear there. Okay. So anyway, that's how I can help you as a dating coach, a dating one-on-one coach, actually get into understanding who you are, what you need, what you desire when you're out here dating in this world of swiping left and swiping right. And another thing, the reason why I always say swiping left and swiping right is because you guys know with the way the world is right now, especially we're still in the middle of COVID. We're not at the height of it, but we're still in the middle of it. A lot of people have turned to online dating as opposed to going out to the bars and to the club, you know, wherever we meet people, or wherever the meeting people place is at, whether it's the gym, the supermarket, you know, the hardware store, whatever. A lot of people have resorted to online because it literally manages some of the mass, right? Because you can kind of narrow it down a little bit more. Right? You don't have to worry about your friend setting you up on a blind date. You know, you kind of narrow it down. You say, okay, these are 10 people that are within my age group or within my location where I'm currently living or whatever, or meets my hot qualifications or whatever, right? And then out of those 10 people that meet those top 3 things, right? Location, height, age, right? You'll say, okay, now out of those 10, who meets this, who meets that? So you can narrow it down. So now you're maybe down to 5. And then from that 5, you can start say, okay, well, what about this? What about that? What about our commonalities? What about this? What about that? And so you kind of narrow it down. So that's when I say in the era of the swiping left, swiping right generation, that's where we are now, because most people have went to that. And if you look at the statistics of online dating, the rates of people establishing accounts have really risen. You know, people who were just totally against online dating have gotten themselves some Plenty of Fish, some whatever accounts out there now, because COVID did that to us. COVID did that to a lot of us, where it forces us to go online, because you can do, you know, Zoom dates now. You know what I mean? Before we even get to the restaurant, before we even get to the movies, before we even get to the meeting at the park or the coffee shop, let's just do a face-to-face or a Zoom call or a FaceTime call or something like that. Then we can figure out if we even need to take it to one step further to meet in public or meet in person, right? And so I hope that kind of summed it up or clarified for you all when I talk about who I am, which is a dating one-on-one coach, exactly what I do and how I can help you moving forward, how I can help you moving forward. Because at the end of the day, I want us all to get to healthy, prosperous relationships so that we can get from just to get to the love, so we can get to the love making. Okay. So I have dropped in this video. If you want to schedule a consultation with me, the first 15-minute consultation is of course free. Then after that, we'll discuss what you need moving forward. And yeah, and then I have our website link in here as well. You can email me at coachshika@onemore-step.com or ronnieandyashika@gmail.com. And so I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys in the very next video. All right, bye.